Hi, this is Brian with ActiveMelody.com. So I wrote this little country blues composition this week with one purpose, and that is to demonstrate how to use the CAGED system. There's a lot of information out there on what CAGED is, but there's not a lot of practical information on how to use it. And so this is a practice piece that you can sit around, play by yourself. You don't have to get out jam tracks or any of that. Just grab a guitar and start practicing how to play this composition, which is pretty fun to play. But it's going to demonstrate how to use CAGED so that not only you're going to learn the composition, but you're going to learn how to use this stuff when you improvise, whether that be rhythm or lead playing. So I've got the lesson split into two parts. In this video, we'll take a look at the first half. If you'd like to watch the second half, get access to the interactive tab viewer, download the tab PDF file, all of that stuff, you can get that by going to ActiveMelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP346. All right, so I'm really excited about this week's guitar lesson, because this will be a breakthrough for a lot of you. And I don't start a lot of lessons with that kind of conviction, but I really mean it this week. I know that a lot of people struggle with playing all over the neck, scales, chord shapes, the CAGED system. This lesson is the CAGED system. I wrote this piece, this little country blues piece, with the CAGED system in mind, so that I could so that you can have a practical practice material that sounds kind of cool, and something that you can sit around the house and play by yourself. You don't have to get out jam tracks and stuff. But what you're doing is you're practicing the CAGED system. So this is a fun way to practice that. And at the end of this, you'll start using these things in your own playing. I promise. Some of this stuff is going to stick with you. So if you don't know what the CAGED system is, I know most of you do, but if you don't, you can go to ActiveMelody.com, go to EP273, check out that lesson. That'll take you from the beginning, explaining what it is. This is how to use it. So I'm not going to be going over what it is. I'm going to assume you know what it is. But there's just not a lot of practical material online for how to use CAGED. There's a lot of material showing what it is. But we're going to break it down and play this thing off of some really basic chords. In fact, this is played in the key of C. And the three chords that are used are C, F, and G. And if you can play a C, F, and a G chord, you can do everything we're going to do here. And the really cool thing is, we're not playing all 6 strings when we play these chords. We're just playing 3 strings, these little triads, which makes it really practical. Triads are so useful when you're playing lead and playing rhythm because for one, they're easy to play, but they're covering all the bases. You're hitting the 3 notes in the chord anyway when you play them. And usually, especially if you got a band, that's all you need. And even if you don't have a band, like in this example, you can still play a solo composition using triads. And so anyway, that's part of the reason I'm so jazzed about this. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is, the song is in the key of C, and the first chord we're going to play off of is a C chord. And we're going to be playing out of this chord shape. Now this is the A chord shape out of CAGED. So you might want to get out a pencil or a pen and write some of these things down if that helps you remember this. But everything we're going to learn here is played out of this chord shape. So the A chord, there's your A chord down in first position, right? Slide it up, put your finger down here, and now you're playing a C chord using that A chord shape. So the breakthrough that'll happen, your first breakthrough, is connecting major pentatonic scale pattern 5 to this chord shape. So we're going to be playing in C, so this will be the C major pentatonic scale, pattern 5. But look at this. That's C major pentatonic scale, pattern 5. That's that A chord shape. Whoa! When you realize that, that's huge. Look at that. They're connected like that. And why do you care? What does that mean for you? Well, now you can do things like, look at that. I can play little melodies, I can play chords, and it's all connected there. And so you can see most of those notes in that major pentatonic scale pattern 5 are hitting on that 5th fret, which is the same fret where that bar is. So connect them in your mind. You don't actually have to play that chord, but now you can picture that scale in connection with that chord. So if you're jamming somewhere, instead of having to start at pattern 1, which a lot of people seem to think that you have to do that, I get emails from people all the time saying, asking about that. And you don't have to start at any of these. There's no starting point. These are just the same 5 notes repurposed, and we just call them pattern 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just to help categorize them and put them in some kind of a logical order. Okay, so the first thing that I played in this goes like this. So that's the 5th fret 4th string, 2nd fret 3rd string, 5th fret 3rd string. Now make sure you use your ring finger when you play the 5th fret 3rd string, because the next thing you're going to do is go right into the chord. And so while that note rings out, I'm going to bar the first 2 strings on the 3rd fret, and I'm going to play that, which would be a C sus2 chord, and I'm going to hammer on with my pinky to the 5th fret 2nd string. Now what just happened there? Some of you get it, some of you may not. That's okay. All this is the C chord using the top part of the A chord shape. So when it comes to CAGED, the way that it's usually explained is you have your A chord like this, right? And then if you were to play that here, it would look like that. Now I can't make my fingers do that. I have to break that into 2 sections. So I look at the bottom part of the chord shape like that, and then the top part of the chord shape. It's the same A chord shape. I just like to split it into 2 parts. It just helps me be able to play it. So when I talk about this, that's the top part of that A chord shape. So what's cool about this though, that hammer-on, is it sounds simple, but it's like this really cool pedal steel sounding. Like, look at this, you can do. Isn't that a nice embellishment when you're playing rhythm or lead? You can work that in. And there's so many things you can do. You can do bends, things like that, but it's all based on this premise. Okay, so once we get into that, we're playing the C chord. And I strum that a few times. I put that in the tablature. I'm not going to go over all the strum patterns, but that's what's going on there. So we have. Okay, and then I went. So look at that. That's going from this C chord to a C sus4. So I've got my pinky coming up to the 6th fret 2nd string, then back down, and then I do this little embellishment off the chord shape. And to play that, that's the 3rd fret 2nd string, hammer onto the 4th fret 2nd string, pull off, and then a hammer onto the 5th fret 3rd string. And just remember that as an embellishment off of this chord shape. So now you have, okay, so all of that was played out of this chord shape. That's the part you're going to want to remember, which is the A chord shape. Now we're going to go to the E chord shape out of CAGED, which there's your E chord, right, in first position, but we're not going to play an E chord. We're going to take that shape though, move it up, bar, and now we've got an F chord. But we're not going to play the full chord. We're just going to play the top 3 strings. The triad, that's all we need. Makes it easy. Why do you want to play the triads? Well, it frees up these fingers. Now I can do all these little embellishments and extra notes I can add to that chord shape. So it frees me up to be able to do that. So in fact, that's what we do. So I play I start by playing the 3rd string out of that chord, and then strum it. Pinky comes up to the 4th fret 3rd string, and then I play the 2nd string out of the chord. So I keep the chord down the whole time. Now after that I went. So that's just adding my pinky to the 3rd fret 2nd string, and then playing the 2nd string behind the chord, and then the 3rd string behind the chord. So you have. So let's back it up from the beginning of that F part. Okay, so now we've played the A chord shape and the E chord shape, but we've played a C chord and an F chord. We're just using those shapes. Let's connect the 2. We'll back it up from the beginning. We have. Now I come down and keep that melody going. And by the way, there's a melody that's woven through this. I just came up with a melody based on the chord shapes that just sort of came out as I was playing, strumming the chords, trying to figure out how I'm going to make a lesson material out of this. This little melody just kind of popped out. So I don't really know where that came from, but you could do this same, you could use the same concept to play any melody you want. So once I come to here, I'm borrowing the first 4 strings on the 5th fret. And what this is this would be the G chord out of CAGED. So let's look at that. So that's what a G chord looks like. Now, I don't like to play all 6 strings. It's too much. Let's just look at the top 4 strings out of that. All right, let's move it up one. Let's keep going up. If I move it up to here, I'm playing a C chord, right? Now, how do I know that? How do I know that's a C chord? Well, there's a couple of ways you can look at it. One is, remember the C chord we were playing here out of using the A chord shape? Look where my pinky is. If I were to replace that with this finger, and then I've got my pinky up here, there's the G chord shape out of CAGED. So now I've got these 2 options. And where my pinky is, here's another takeaway. If I were to play the E chord shape up here, there's the C chord again. So you can see these things are all connected. Once you play one, you can see where the next one is, and the next one, and so forth. So that's another thing to just kind of keep in mind. All right, so once we come to the C chord here, using that G chord shape, I'm going to play the 4th string. Now I'm just borrowing the first 4 strings there on that 5th fret, and I played it like this. So there's that 5th fret 4th string with a strum of the chord, and then I come up to the 7th fret 4th string, and then back to the 5th fret, but this will be on the 3rd string. And then I went, so my ring finger went down on the 7th fret again, but this time on the 3rd string, and then I played the 2nd string on the 5th fret. So altogether that part goes like this. And then watch this. Now you should be able to look at my fingers and tell me what chord shape that is when I'm playing this. You should be able to tell me what the actual chord is and then what shape we're playing out of. So this chord is a G chord, but we're not playing out of the G chord shape. What are these fingers making? They're making the E chord, right? So that's the E chord shape, just like we did over the F. Remember the little triad we did over the F? We're doing that same triad, we've just slid it up 2 frets, now we're playing a G. So after I played, then I went like this. So again, I'm using my pinky to make these embellishments. So it's after you make that chord there, it's the 2nd string, strum, down, up, and then pinky goes down on the 5th fret 3rd string, down, up, and then take your pinky off and play just the 3rd string. So just practice that. You have. So now do that over an A. Just to get comfortable with it. Okay, so that's what's going on there. All right, so let's back up from the beginning and we'll play up to that point. We have this. Okay, now watch this. So what I did there, I took my pinky and I walked us back. We're going back to the C chord. So we were on the G chord and now we're going back to the C. And what I'm doing is I'm walking up to this position, which is that G chord shape again. Now I just use my pinky to play 5th fret, 6th fret, 8th fret on the 2nd string. And it just walked me right into the position there. So when I hit that, I'm going to have my pinky on the 8th fret 2nd string, and then I'm going to play strings 4, 3, and 2. Now after that, I played this country bluegrassy lick that goes. Now what is that lick? Where is that coming from? Well, remember we're playing all of this in the key of C, and so I was playing a C chord right here. Where would be a scale that's close by, that's major pentatonic, because it's got this kind of country feel, kind of happy. You don't want it necessarily be super bluesy. And so what I'm doing is I'm playing major pentatonic scale, pattern 1. Look at that. It's right here. So now you should be able to see, there's your A chord shape, here's your G chord shape, here's your C major pentatonic scale pattern 1. Look at how all of that's connected. In fact, if you play that chord, that G chord shape, you go right into that major pentatonic scale pattern 1. It's very cool. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just going down. So the notes are, and there's a few extra notes like this one, which would be in the minor pentatonic, but for the most part, it's that major pentatonic scale. All right, so let's do 8th fret 1st string, 5th fret 1st string, 8th fret 2nd string, and then we do the 8th fret 3rd string. So you have, and then you come back to the 5th fret 2nd string, and then I go do a slide from the 8th fret 3rd string down to the 7th fret 3rd string, 5th fret 3rd string. Let's back up and play that. Now after that 5th fret 3rd string, then I walked up to here, and I'll explain why. But what I'm doing, that's 5th fret 4th string, 6th fret, 7th fret 4th string. And use your ring finger for that so that you can go. It was walking me up to this chord. What is that chord? There's your F chord. There's your F chord here. So this is the F chord using the C chord shape out of CAGED. Look at these fingers, what they're making. If I were to slide this all the way down here, there's your C chord in first position. Slide it all the way up like this so that I've got my finger kind of barring there on the 5th fret. I've got a C chord out of the CAGED system. Now I'm not going to play it like that because it's kind of awkward, to be honest with you. My pinky is really not necessary. So when I play the C chord shape out of CAGED, I pretty much always just play this little triad. That's all you need out of it. And so, and that the other way you can think of that is that Keith Richards thing I've mentioned many times, where you've got your 1 chord and you hammer onto your 4 chord. So that's what's going on there. Okay, so from the beginning we have. There's your F. Now after that I went. So we're going back to the C chord, and I just did kind of a bluesy little bend thing there. It just sort of fell out. I was just trying to think of what I could do in this area. And what I'm doing is I went 7th fret 3rd string to the 5th fret 3rd string, and then I did 2 bends on that 7th fret 3rd string. Release, 5th fret 3rd string, 7th fret 4th string. And then back down to that, there's that G chord shape, right? But I'm going to hit that 5th fret 4th string. So you have, and then after that I went. Now what is that? Well, it's all played on the 4th string, and I start here on the 7th fret, 7, 5, 7, 8, 9, and make sure you use your ring finger for that, so that you can go. Now what just happened there? Well, that is playing the G chord, but I'm using that C chord shape out of CAGED. So remember when we played it here, we were playing an F chord, and then you slid up 2 frets and you played a G chord. Well, that looks the same as an F chord, slide up 2 frets, a G chord, right? Same here, using the A chord shape, F, slide up 2 frets, G. So hopefully you can connect those things and see what's going on. We're just playing out of these basic chord shapes. Okay, now after that, the closing lick goes. Now it got a little bit bluesy there. I always like to kind of throw in just a little sprinkle of blues. It's not super bluesy, but it's just enough to make it kind of fun. So I came up to, this would be the 10th fret 2nd string, 8th fret 2nd string, 8th fret 3rd string. Now where are we? Well, I know the song goes back to the C chord, and while I was up here, I looked at where my C minor pentatonic scale pattern 1 is. And so that's what I came right into that minor pentatonic scale pattern 1, that mindset. So then I come down to the 10th fret 4th string, and then the last thing that I play goes. So that's the 10th fret 5th string, 8th fret 4th string, back to the 10th fret 5th string, but slide it down. As soon as you hit it, you slide it down to the 8th fret, 6th fret 5th string, and then that last note will be the 8th fret 6th string. So you have, okay, so and then after I played that note, then I came back down here and hit that same note, but on the 5th string, so it'll be the 3rd fret 5th string. But we're gonna save that for the part 2 video. That's where we go into a whole other part. But I think it's too much to try and cram into this video. Now, hopefully you've got some ideas for these different chord shapes. So I'm gonna go through this and play through it one more time slowly, but I'm gonna call out the chord shapes that we're playing out of. I'm not gonna call out the chords, but the shapes out of CAGED. Just so you have one final reference of it, and you can make notes of that or however you want. But hopefully you've got some ideas for how you can start to use this. We'll go over even more ideas in the part 2 video. So you have A chord shape, E chord shape, G chord shape, E chord shape, G chord shape, C chord shape, G chord shape, C shape. That wasn't easy to do. All right, we'll see you in part 2.